And our word for today on this Thursday of the 29th week in Ordinary Time, this Thursday, October the 24th, our word for today is fire. Fire is our word for today. You know, we see and speak about fire quite a bit in the Old and New Testament. And when we see the word fire, talk about the word fire, we're often talking about Gehenna and hell, purgatory in other instances. But in this particular case, what we are talking about is heavenly things. So this is what Jesus says in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12. Jesus said to his disciples, I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. Of course, he's not saying, I have come to send the world to hell. He came to save the world. He came to free us from sin and death. He came to save us from hell. There is a baptism, Jesus says, with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. What is the baptism that Jesus is talking about here? He's not talking about the baptism of John. He's talking about the baptism of his suffering, brothers and sisters. He's talking about his death on the cross. That's the baptism that he's talking about. And he doesn't say, oh, I am very perplexed about this whole thing. Oh, I'm very anxiety ridden about this difficulty that's coming in my direction. No, no. He says, there's a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. He said elsewhere that he had come for this hour and he wished that that hour was already here. What hour? The hour when we would be made free through his death on the cross, through everything that preceded that, by the way, through the Garden of Gethsemane and his sweating through that, through the torture that he experienced before he went and hung on the cross for those hours before he gave his life for us. That entire path of suffering is what he was talking about, and not the fact that he was anxious about it coming because he was afraid of it. No, he said, I am in anguish until it comes because I want to accomplish that thing. Why? Because he wanted to reunite us with the Father. He wants to reunite us with the Father. And so the fire he is talking about, of course, is when he sends the Holy Spirit, which he could not do until after his death and resurrection and ascension into heaven. And then he sent the fire upon the earth, the Holy Spirit that lives within us, who stirs up into us a flame of love for God the Father and God the Son, and stirs into us an understanding of God's love for us, his call on our lives, who we are in him because of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And when we continue to allow him to stir us into flame, that flame grows and it spreads and it goes into other people's lives. And then it grows in their lives and in their hearts and in their minds and in their spirits. And then it jumps over and jumps into someone else. And that fire is stirred again and again and again. And in that way, the whole earth becomes ablaze with the Holy Spirit, who has set us all on fire for love for God. Oh my goodness. That's what we're called to do. That is exactly what's going on in the lives of every one of us. And brother, dear sister, I personally am in anguish until that fire is completely set and blaze in me, that everything else is removed. And I know it's your greatest desire too, that we might all be set on fire for love of God, and that nothing would remain in us except him. Fire, our love for fire, our word for today.